welcome in to another interview episode of the Radioactive Paper Cuts podcast. I'm your host, Josh Kennedy. Joining me today is a musician, a producer, a Hoosier, a Jack Daniels enthusiast, a groom to be, my friend, my brother, Anthony Gator Herrell. How are you doing?
What's going on, Josh? I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm super pumped to have you on the podcast.
Hey,
I'm
dope
having a
intro
great
though. I
time.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I had it's the best to butter them up like as much as possible. I
Oh
didn't throw
yeah.
you had a couple little jokes in there. Sometimes I throw a completely random joke in just to see how it goes, but on this one specifically, worked out perfect. Now you
Hell
know
yeah.
how it goes. Here on the podcast, we're going to talk about your nerddom and all that fun stuff. And I laid out some questions for you, and you prepared your answers. Sorry to
I think.
break the wall to the listeners out there that we don't do this off the cuff. But
Ha.
question number one. What hero means the most to you and why?
All right, you ready for the most generic response of 2022 because of the movie that just came out?
Oh,
It's definitely
smart
Spider-Man,
money.
but it's always been Spider-Man. He's like, and the why is he's a real life person who was given powers whether he wanted them or not, right? So he
Right.
could have done whatever he wanted with those powers, and like a lot of people, like human nature would just be like, yeah, I'm gonna go fuck some shit up. But he's
Yep.
like, all
Get some
right,
money,
I
get
got
some
these
power.
powers. Let's do the right thing. And it sounds super cheesy, but it's like in terms of superheroes and like what they do and how they got their origin story and everything, it's like Spidey's the guy.
Yeah, he's got one of the better ones, I would say. I think that's why he's one of the most popular comic book characters of all time. It's just he's so relatable to the average person, and everybody likes to think that they have the moral compass of Spider-Man. So I
Right.
think
I'm just
about
waiting to get bit. It's
yep,
the most
probably
realistic one I could be.
probably don't just try and get bit by a bunch of spiders. It probably won't work out that well. I think there's a commercial out right now for Liberty Mutual where they made a stupid joke like that. It's wonderful.
There's a video on Jamie's TikTok of me eating spiders. I'm trying to go for it all.
Shout out to Jamie. I'm going to be getting him on this podcast at some point, but that is Coach DeLong's brother. And if you haven't heard Cody DeLong's episode, it is episode number 3. So go back and listen to it. Now, what brand of nerd do you think you deserve a PhD in? And this doesn't have to be comic books. It doesn't have to be TV shows. There's just anything that you're super passionate about. What do you think
So
you
this is one I thought a lot about, but couldn't figure out what brand of nerddom meant. So explain that to me, and I'll answer that one off the cuff
Okay,
for the
so
viewers.
yeah, for me specifically, I would say my brand of nerd is superhero comic books. Now, that's not
Okay.
like there's a lot of I don't necessarily know everything about comic books because they have all these other versions. They have Vertigo, Image, but the main ones, DC and Marvel, that's what I'm super passionate about, and that's what I can kind of go off the cuff and tell you 7th, 8th tier deep cuts about Batman that no one cares about.
Right, right. Well, I would say if I deserve a PhD in nerddom, it'd be on like series, like medieval series, like Game of Thrones. And I'd throw Harry Potter in there, but it's not like medieval, but like Game of
Fantasy.
Thrones, Harry Potter. Yeah,
You
fantasy.
go like fantasy. I like
Yeah,
that, and
yeah,
I haven't heard no one said that yet. So please tell
yeah.
me all about why you're super smart about that. What
So
drives you
I,
to follow that stuff?
I don't know. It's a great question. And the answer is I don't know. But it's like we didn't grow up watching that kind of stuff, or like we just my family had no interest in it or anything, I guess. And it didn't start until probably like end of college, or maybe even after I was in college. I was like, all right, let's like I'd seen some Harry Potter movies, and I was like, all right, let's sit down and let's marathon these things. And I was
Smart.
like, whoa, my world was turned upside down. And I was like, all right. And then I got into Game of Thrones,
So you were an
and then like Lord
adulthood
of the Rings.
Harry Potter fan as well. You didn't watch those till later. I think I've said on
Oh
previous
yeah.
podcasts that my missionary grandmother wouldn't allow me to watch Harry Potter because of witchcraft. So I didn't get the
Oh,
growing up watching the movies as they came out and reading the books. My
right,
wife had her dad read them books to sleep every night, and they went to every premiere of Harry Potter movies, which would have been
yeah,
a really cool like pillar in my childhood, but that just
right,
didn't happen to be.
right.
So,
No,
yeah,
I actually was turned off of Harry Potter for the longest time. I think that's why it took me until my adult years, because when I was in first grade, I've like always, I guess I've always read pretty well. So I was at a seventh grade reading level, and my teacher gave me the first Harry Potter book to read for my AR book. Meanwhile,
mm,
like my classmates got fucking picture books and things that first graders were supposed to read.
Right.
And I could read the book, but I was like, this is a lot of pages. And I like protested it. I was like, I'm not reading any of this.
So you left a
And
bad
I was
taste
like,
in your
this is
mouth for
stupid.
being ahead of your class. That's pretty funny.
Right. Yeah. So I hated it. And then I was like, well, I guess maybe I shouldn't hate it as bad because now it's like one of my favorite things.
So you got geared towards fantasy later in life. That's fun.
Yeah.
That was all. I think the first real fantasy thing I ever went to is an old friend of mine. They got tickets to go to the Ren Fest here in Michigan. Which Gator, me and you got to make it out there one time
Let's
because
go.
it's super cool. They have like live jousting and then giant lamb legs, and they have 6 or 7 different comedy shows going
Have
on that are
you
period pieces.
have you heard of Medieval Times?
Yes, the restaurant.
Is
Never
it
been
like
personally.
is it oh okay. I've never been there
No.
either, but I'm curious if it's similar.
Okay, so it's essentially just a giant plot of land here in Michigan that they just build up like just things to go for. Like there's an axe throwing thing. It's a good probably 2 mile like way around it. It's a lot of stuff. There's different concessions and then there's different games and you got people
Yeah.
everybody dresses. It's like going to a Comic-Con, but it's outside and it's medieval
Right,
themed.
right.
I guess that's the best
Yeah.
way I could put it.
Yeah.
It's super fun, and I've only gone the one time, and I've always wanted to go back. So
You ever been to Renaissance fairs?
it's essentially like that. It was a Renaissance
Okay.
festival. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
cool,
That's
man.
dope.
It's really cool. It's fun times, and people get the like real chainmail and things like that.
Yeah. That's dope.
Action and
Let's do
swords.
it.
Yeah, we're gonna do it one time, but that was kind of my intro into the fantasy realm. Other than movies back when we were kids, where there was the occasional
Right.
like Knights of the Round Table, King Arthur type of things.
Right.
But
Right.
what would you say is your first nerd movie that you can really remember?
So it was Harry Potter. um but I guess actually in all reality, the first nerd movies I got into was the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans.
A
Like,
That's a
I
coming of
love
age
those.
film for a lot of people our age, and I'm
Yeah.
into it. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, and like we had the PlayStation 2 Spider-Man game and like
Oh, that thing was hype.
and then like
That
we'd
was like
watch the
groundbreaking.
movie, and me and my brother especially, we'd watch the movie, play the game, have to pause the game because we both like had to argue that we would be a better Spider-Man in
Would
real
be a
life,
better Spider-Man. Yeah.
and then like parkour around the house real quick.
Yep. Just got
I'd
to
whoop
prove
his ass, and then we
it's
could go back
hilarious.
to playing the game.
That was one thing. Me and my brothers always used to play superheroes and stuff too. And Adam's super into video games, and we did similar things. But the nice thing is, we never had the same favorite hero, and we were very
Right.
possessive of our own heroes. So I've said on multiple podcasts on Marvel stuff, like I won't play the Spider-Man games because that's Adam's guy, which is a ridiculous concept.
You know what? Though? I could totally see Adam being the Spider-Man guy. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's the Spider-Man guy for sure. And yeah, so your first nerd movie, Tobey Maguire. Do you remember? Did you see that in theaters? Or is this like a
No, we
rental
never
or
went to the
blockbuster
movies.
thing?
When I was a kid, movies weren't a thing. Like we didn't ever go to the movies, but
You
we
grew up with
eventually,
a good amount of siblings, right?
yeah, we didn't do shit.
Kind of hard to wrangle in enough kids to make a trip to the movies. So
Yeah,
I
we were
can
especially a bunch
totally
of babies.
understand that. But do you remember your first watching? Like, was it just with your siblings, or just kind of like?
I don't really remember. It was probably, if I had to guess, it was on cable.
Okay, fair
Um,
enough.
and like we just casually watched it, and I was like, as the movie went on, I was like, all right, this is pretty cool. And I like was so hooked in at the end of it, and I was like, okay, cool. And then Spider-Man 2 came out, and we rented it whenever it came in, when it went to Blockbuster. And then the third one, I think I went to go see the third one in theaters, but I don't completely remember.
Yeah, it's fun to touch on that kind of thing because it brings back fun memories. Now, the movie thing didn't really get you going. What's your favorite memory involving your nerddom? Would you say like a Comic Con type of deal, or maybe you introducing your favorite characters to someone that you love? That type
So,
of thing. What's your favorite?
yes. So my favorite of all time was just going to Disney. Like it's a completely different kind of nerddom, but it's still a category of nerddom to me.
I will allow it.
But it's actually the first time I went to Disney was it must have been it'll be almost 2 years ago. This March, I went to Disney with Cody and Jenny, and like I went. My first experience at Disney was as an adult, and it was fucking awesome.
It's really cool.
Like I
It's
was
super
like,
fun.
every corner we'd turn, I'd be like, "What the?" Like, and then, like we stayed there for 4 days, went to every park,
Yep.
and by like the third day, I was like, "All right, I got this Disney shit figured out. Like, it's all impressive and everything, and it's cool, but like, all right, let's try to like debunk it now." And I walk into the park and be like, "Whoa, nope, fucking, I
No,
suck."
back right down. Yeah, I had been to Disney one time previously when I was a kid. We had gone to Magic Kingdom, and that was the only park we had gone to. But then 2017, I went with that Cody, Jenny, and Jordan. That was my group, and
Yeah.
it's just mind blowing all the stuff that goes on down there. Did you get a chance to hit up Harry Potter World as well?
No, that's on the bucket
Oh,
list
that's
though.
on the list. Yeah, okay. Personally, that was my favorite just because I'm a really big fan of those movies, and those rides are just unreal. Honestly, it's super fun.
Yeah. It's
But
funny that we're
Disney's
talking
has a
about it because
couple.
we're actually in the middle of marathoning the Harry Potters right now. We're like halfway
Nice.
through the second one. Well, it started a couple days ago. We watched Fantastic Beasts,
Oh,
and then
okay,
we
so
watched the
you're
second
doing it
one.
like kind of chronological order, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, this podcast isn't going to come out till a little bit later, but recently they just had the 20-year reunion of the first
Hmm.
movie on HBO Max, and that kind of got everyone reinvigorated to rewatch all these movies.
Yeah, but dude, like think about that. That was 20 years ago.
I know.
And
It's
like we're
nuts.
talking about it like it was like a couple of years ago.
I know. That's how you know you're getting old, man.
I know. That and gray hair.
Yeah, no doubt. So who introduced you to kind of the fantasy realm? Was that more of just you caught it in the? Who would you call a shepherd of one of your nerddoms or a specific one? I guess is the
Right.
best way to place it.
High school friends. I had a
Okay.
group of friends in high school who were like super into like really nerdy things. Like, but they were like hardcore about it. Like anime, going to Comic Cons, like movie marathons every weekend, like all that kind of stuff. And it was when I moved to Pittsburgh my freshman year, halfway through my freshman year, and I like moved there and I like didn't know anybody, didn't really have any friends, and I was kind of like an oddball myself. So I was like, oh, whatever, I'll hang out with these oddballs. And it was like they kind of started showing me the things that they do and like all that kind of stuff. I was like, I dig it.
Yeah, I was the comic shepherd to some of my high school friends as well. They weren't into it. I've been into Batman since as long as I can remember. When I was a little kid, I carried around a blue Batman action figure for like years in
Yeah,
the Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, the 90s Batman movies that are
yeah, yeah.
considered to be pretty awful. They were always on in my house. So that
Let's
was
go.
me just showing them how cool comic books can be.
Right.
Now, what would you say that your nerddom's done for you in your life? Like, what kind of role has it been?
Yeah. For the first part of like my life, I guess, like early childhood to like teenage years, um, it was pretty much solely just like entertaining. It's like, oh, this is fun to watch and this and that.
Right.
But over time, like now when I watch Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, now when I watch like the first Harry Potter movies, it's nostalgia and
Uh
it's
huh.
like comforting, you know. So it's
100%.
like when it's blizzarding out like it is right now, and you're like, let's throw some Harry Potter on, and that theme song comes on, you're like, all right, I'm good. Like this is cool.
Yep. I
Um,
sometimes wish I could do that. Trying to getting my wife to rewatch movies that she's already seen is like ripping out teeth. So when I went to a
I
Harry
do that
Potter
for
marathon,
most movies, but Harry Potter movies I'll watch over and over.
yeah,
Um,
they're great.
but it's a nostalgia thing now, but it also turns in like when you take out the nostalgic movies like the Spider-Mans, the Harry Potter, stuff like that,
Hmm.
and throw in the things that like why do I like nerdy shit like Game of Thrones or like the later Harry Potter movies or stuff like that or Lord of the Rings. Um, I find myself sitting there watching those because or that kind of stuff is because like my ADHD mind needs stimulated. So
Okay.
like I'll sit there and if I'm
Watch your
not
lengthy
watching
stuff.
something that's stimulating enough, then I won't watch whatever's on. I'll just be like playing
Go
some
through your
sort of
phone.
puzzle on my phone or something.
Yeah.
Um, so like there's different types of nerddom that does different things for me, which is dope.
Got you. No, since you're already talking about just which characters you really like and stuff, what character do you think best represents you and like your personality the most in their mediums?
Yeah. So I actually asked my fiance Abby about it
Smart.
because I was like, I don't really know like how I'm projected to other people, like whatever. But I had one in mind. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And she goes, Iron Man. And I was like, that's what I was thinking. Because like if I was in his position, I feel like I would be a lot like him, kind of like
Similar facial hair, I can see.
standoffish and stuff like that. But but no, yeah, I'd say Iron Man.
Iron Man, that's a good one. I mean, if you're
What's
gonna
yours?
be modeled after anyone, oh man, I don't know. I don't know
Ah,
the answer
flip the
to that.
script.
Flipping it on me. No one cares what I have to say. No,
Yeah.
I'd probably, I want to think like Nightwing because he's my favorite because he's
Ooh.
adventurous and he's funny and
You
things
know
like
what? I
that.
could see it. I could see
Thank
it.
you. I appreciate that, but I'm probably some curmudgeon like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. I'll never know. I guess
No,
I'll
no,
ask
no, no.
my wife and I'll get back to you on that. um, well, you're most like Iron Man, but what universe do you think you would thrive in? That can be anything because you said you're a big Game of Thrones fan. Do you think you'd be a good at the medieval thing, or do you think you'd be a Looney Tune dropping acne anvils everywhere? Whatever you want to go, where do you think you'd do the best?
Yeah, so if you couldn't tell already, my spectrum of my nerddom is pretty narrow.
Right,
So I chose Harry Potter.
smart.
Going back to it. But no, I
That would
just
be
think
really
that
cool.
like it is so enticing, and I mean it's enticing to the human being to watch things like Harry Potter in the first place because it's fantasy. It's a reality that you wish was real, but you don't get, so you immerse yourself into their world to get as much of it as you can. But I look at that and I think like, yeah, I'm sucked in like everyone else is, but like I find myself pondering the reality of the magic world. Like, I know it's not a real thing, but it's like, but if this, but if that,
It's fun to try and throw yourself into the politics of a
hmm
specific universe. Now, what might as well go on a tangent here. You love Harry Potter so much. What house are you gonna be in? Who are you gonna be friends with? What where are you going, man? I gotta
Oh
know
yeah,
what's going on here.
I'm going right to that green Slytherin.
On Green Slytherin,
Yeah. And
hanging out
friends,
with
I
Draco.
don't know. I think it'd be dope to hang out with any of them. Be friends with any of them.
Well, which class do you think would be your master class of Harry Potter? Because there's
Oh,
defenses against the dark arts, there's
right.
potions, there's
hmm
what a legitimacy.
Oh,
What was it? What was the one where you could see in the future? I forget the name of it.
I don't remember either. With the crazy lady.
Yep. Hmm.
Yeah, I can't
Gotta
think of
read
it
the
right
read the
now.
tea leaves.
Mm-hmm. No, I think potions I'd fail if I got kicked out of any sort of magic school because of potions because it reminds me too much of like chemistry and biology. I fucking sucked at that shit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, chemistry was something for me. A teacher specifically hated me, and if any of my high school friends listen to this, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So in my high school, there was part A and part B. And part A, I got like a B plus or something like that. But then part two, where the teacher didn't like me and my friends would roll into class 5 minutes late because we went to Taco Bell for lunch, and we sat right in the front row, and we
Hell
talked like
yeah.
we didn't sit in the front row. So the teacher was not a fan, man. So that was my one and only D plus in all of high school, which was a real
Right.
bummer. I'm sure my GPA turned
Eh,
out just fine, but I
there
think
you
it was
go.
spite.
I think it made a better story to talk about how you got Taco Bell and sat in the front row than it is to say I got an A.
Yeah, exactly. What kind of story am I to tell about getting an A? Oh man, Taco Tuesdays. Um, Now with your whole nerddom relation, you've got a bunch of siblings, like you said. Now you had a lot of imagination, I suppose. I mean, you kind of have to as a kid. Now,
Yeah.
were your siblings also into it, or was it more like you had one brother that was super into Spider-Man, and then a sister that liked princesses, or something like that?
Yeah, it was mostly like that. Me and my brother are 3 years apart, and then after my brother, there's three girls. So it's like
None of them were tomboys, really.
the no, we the
No,
boys
all
had the
girly
boys.
girls.
We beat each other up all day and fought over
Girls
who's
were
a better
girly.
Spider-Man, and they like stayed in their room the whole day. I was like, yeah,
Yeah, I'm
whatever.
always curious how a girl would have survived in the Kennedy household because we got the two younger brothers, and we had multiple times we had like neighbor kids leave our house because we played too rough and shit like that. Oh God,
Yeah,
it was
no,
rough.
we'd all hang out together, and then as soon as my sister saw my brother and I getting rowdy, we're like, nope, we're
Just
going.
nope, we're heading out of here.
Go in their
I
room and lock their
that's
door.
that's pretty funny. I remember specifically as a kid, not to make this whole episode about me, but why not? I haven't talked about some of these memories. I had a couple of cousins that were both girls, but I was so obsessed with superheroes that I would make them play superheroes, right? But the older cousin, the girl, she was like super into teen angst in TV shows like that. So she'd always put a weird
Yeah.
twist on it, like she was Wonder Woman, but she was also pregnant with Batman's baby and making it weird drama stuff about that. I'm like,
Let's
what is
go.
going on?
She knew the multiverse existed before we did.
Yeah, she was just trying to make the most of it and trying to bring the two things together, but I couldn't do it, man. I'm like, well, okay, can I throw a battering at you? Like, what am I
Right.
supposed to do with that information? That's
That's
hilarious.
funny. That's funny.
Yeah. Now, the nerddom you said you and your fiance, soon to be wife, shout out Abby. You guys, did she share your nerddoms quite a bit then?
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. We've rewatched all of Game of Thrones together. We're rewatching all the Harry Potter movies. We've watched Lord of the Rings. Well, the first one. We got to finish those. We watch nerdy stuff. Even like pretend to be nerdy, but not so nerdy stuff, like Big Bang Theory and like
Oh, I can't
Parks
do
and
Big Bang
Rec
Theory.
and
Big Bang
stuff
Theory
like
is
that.
Big Bang Theory is too rough for me, man. I can't do it. The other shows are good though.
You have
That's
to. I have to. I can't just sit down and watch Big Bang Theory. I have to like be in a mood for it.
yeah. Well, I mean, you're. I know for a fact that you're going to be jumping on the baby train pretty soon after getting married. So, what
Let's
are you
go.
most excited about, like showing your kid, like your nerddums? Which one is like the one you're like, oh, I can't wait until she takes the
Ooh.
test or he takes the test when they're 4, and I got to find out if my kid's a pussy Hufflepuff, if they're a badass Gryffindor or something like that.
um. Hmm. That's a
This is
good
unscripted.
question.
I
This is
didn't give
this
you
is a
these
good
questions in
question.
advance.
I don't know that I'm excited for any particular. I think I'm excited. I'll be super excited if they like naturally, and it sounds so like hippie cliche or whatever, but like if they naturally are like gravitating towards something,
I
I'll be like,
want that to
fuck
happen so
yes.
bad, but I think because I'm such a nerd that my kid's gonna think I'm a loser and
Yeah.
completely
Well,
avoid it entirely.
your kid's either gonna gravitate straight toward Batman or resent Batman the rest of its life because
Because yeah, that's a pillar in the lifestyle. So yeah, I'm excited for kids just because you get the imagination aspect of kids is they play pretend because that's what they do, and you kind of forget
right.
about the innocence when you're an adult. So you get to kind of
Yeah.
adventure back into these old worlds that used to be like
Yeah.
your comfort zone and get to explore it with your
Yeah,
kids.
you get to be excited to be a kid again with your kid,
I
like
know
in
it's
certain
really cool.
aspects.
Now, you're also a musician. I mean, which one are you kind of hoping you're? I mean, obviously everyone can be jacks of all trades, but I'm just curious. Like, are you more excited to teach the kid how to play piano, or are you thinking like, hey, did you know that Clark Kent is Superman? You know, things like
Dude,
that.
my kid is going to be a Marvel genius that is a rock star and starting guard for the Indiana Hoosiers basketball
Okay,
team.
perfect. Yeah.
But no, just kidding. No,
I don't know, man.
I
Abby's kind of short. I don't know if we're really gonna be looking at it starting. No, I'm kidding.
no, exactly. No, but no, I think it'll be fun to introduce different things as they become appropriate. Like superhero
Yeah,
stuff, you can introduce from the
pretty
moment
early on.
they're
Although you got to be
born.
careful because you're like, oh, you
Right,
like Deadpool, but all of a sudden there's 2 rated R Deadpool movies that you definitely can't
right.
watch till you're older.
Exactly, exactly. No, but you can start that pretty much immediately, but you can't, be like, "Hey, hold this guitar and let's jam." I know you're only 2 months old, but so
Do
like
your best.
when the time comes to like be able to teach them music, that'll be super hype, and they'll have already developed, their whatever passions for nerdy shit that they wanted to.
Yeah, it's one
And
of
there's
those
like a
things
time
where
and a place for all that stuff.
I know I don't want to force anything on the kids, but also I'm like, I'll be real sad if you think superheroes are lame. Yeah, no. Speaking
No,
of
they got
fantasy,
no chance.
no,
They got
no,
no
not
chance.
no shot in this house. You can forget about superheroes when you're 18. In this house, we go to midnight premieres. That's what this is
Yeah.
all about.
Yeah.
Now the fantasy thing. The fantasy is going to be the theme of my daughter's nursery. I decided. Started
Oh,
buying stuff
let's
for that, so I
go.
was like, that's a pretty cool one. Castles and
That is
dragons and
dope.
queens.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, I might steal that from you.
Hey man,
Maybe
do
a
it. Do what you
year
got
and a
to
half from
do.
now.
It's gonna be cool. Now, give me one deep cut fact about just anything in your nerddom. And what I mean by deep cut fact is like Tim Burton almost directed a Superman movie. And
Hmm.
that's a fun little fact that someone can bring up at a bar that not everyone's gonna know. It's just fun stuff that you can bring up.
Yeah. So I thought about this one, and I can't. Nothing comes to mind, and I'm sure I know way too many than is like healthy for me, but like I can't recall them on instant because like it's like a lot of the stuff that I watch is also stuff that a lot of other people have watched, and I've talked to them a lot about it. So a lot of like the twists and plot twists and like big events and stuff and things kind of lose their umph because I've talked about them with so
Well,
many people.
give us a Hoosier fact. What's something good that not everyone's gonna know about the Hoosiers?
Hmm. Well, they're
Because I
winning
don't
the
know when they've
NCAA
ever won a
championship this
championship.
year.
See,
No, they
I have no idea.
no, they've got 5 banners. They've got 5. I think they're tied for third or fourth most in ever. Um, UCLA is number one. They've got like 12 or 11 or something like that.
Yeah, well,
Ridiculous.
fuck those guys.
Yeah. Now, let's see. Fun fact about the Hoosiers: Victor Oladipo,
Victor Ladipo.
NBA player. He was on SportsCenter top 10 for a dunk that he missed
Really?
against Michigan.
Was it really cool looking? What
Yeah,
happened?
it
Did he
was
break the rim
freak.
or
If
something?
he would have
Or the
broke the
backboard?
internet if he made that. No, he got on alley oop, but he was cutting toward the basket, and the point guard set the pass for the alley oop, but he set it way too high and way too far back. So
Oh, so
Victor
he did like
Oladipo,
monster
he
way
goes, "I
back.
ain't no bitch," and he jumped as high as he could, reached way back in full extension, and brought it in, and it bounced around and came out. And I was like,
Oh man.
"Oh!" And I watched
Oh,
that
that
live, and
hurts.
but he was on
That
SportsCenter
hurts.
top 10 for a missed dunk, and
That
Twitter almost
is
broke from that.
that is a fun fact. I never would have known that. I'll have to watch that once we're done here. Now,
That is, if
this
you want to classify Indiana Hoosiers as a category of nerddom, that is, you can replace every answer I've given you
just about
and
Hoosier
just
stuff.
replace it
Yeah,
with
I try and
yeah,
keep it more close to comic books, but I know
yeah.
you're a big basketball guy, so I thought you might as well get to flex a little bit because we're in my realm, Gator. I gotta
There we go.
I
I'm
gotta
gonna start
give you.
a sports podcast all about the Hoosiers, and nobody's gonna listen to it, but I'm gonna invite you on it
Oh, I'll
just so
be
we can
there.
talk about it.
I will be there. I will give you all the advice when I know almost nothing about podcasting and I pretend to be good at it. But final question, and this one I want to hear the most honest thing you can give me. And this is not related to nerddom, not related to basketball, anything at all like that. Just
For sure.
what gives your life meaning? And I just really want to know what drives others that like wakes them up in the morning and like, okay, this is why I go to work. This is why I do
Right.
this. This is why I do that. Because everybody's got to have something. You can't just naturally go on autopilot without having any
Right.
sort of drive. I mean, you can, but your life's miserable at that point.
Right. Right. Here's one for the Instagram caption, but it's the strive for complete happiness. Um, which is, in my opinion, mostly an illusion. Complete
Hmm.
happiness, that's kind of a heaven thing. Um, but the strife for it, the drive to want to achieve complete happiness. Like I said, it's mostly an illusion, in my opinion. But taking the time to stop and smell the flowers is like the big things, like the little things. Um, like you said, this big goal. And I've set my goal to achieve complete happiness, but I've also told myself that's not a realistic goal. However, the happiness that I'm getting is from the little things on the way there, and it's cliche. It's sappy, but
It
it's real.
works,
It's
man.
it's it's things like that I look back at and I think about, oh, that was cool that we did all these other cool, expensive, or extravagant, or unnecessary things. But like, I remember laughing my ass off at a joke in the hotel that night, or stuff like that, or
Yeah, I'll
it's
tell
things
you a
like
little
that.
story just about one thing that no one understands why it sticks out in my memory, but I might as well throw it in here. And you can
Yeah.
ask one day in the middle of summer 2016. I'm at my parents' house. We were there for like a day or two. And in the middle of the day, me, Jordan DeLong, Adam Kennedy, all are just
Oh
on my
God.
parents' couch. No, it's the lamest story ever. That's why it's funny. We decide to take a nap, and it is the world's greatest nap that we've ever had collectively in our entire lives, and we bring it up all the time. It was perfect because we put
But
on
it's
some
stuff
like
like that.
I know we put on some sweet music, took a quick nap, and when we all finally woke up pretty close to each other, one of our other friends had already made plans for us that night. So there was just no stress. Wake up from a nap. You got your plan for the day. It
Let's
was wonderful.
go. But
Yeah,
yeah, no,
it's
it
little
is
things
things
like
like
that.
that. Like that you just for no reason that you should remember, you remember, but because
It's a
it was
struggle, man. You got to like
yeah.
focus on the things that made you happy or that you're happy
Hmm.
about because it's just life gets so busy and overwhelming all the
Right.
time. And you got to set some time aside to be like, well, here are the things that I have enjoyed so far. And
Right, right.
that can
And
be difficult.
often enough, I think we get stuck, and just as this is just from human nature, but we get stuck saying, for to put it bluntly, oh, I would be happy if I only had this. If I only get
Right.
to this point in life, I'll be good. And without even realizing it, we're there, and we've already said, if I only get to
Set
this
a new
next
goal.
part,
Hmm.
yeah, and you don't stop and take the time to look behind you and go, okay, wait, I'm here. It's good to always have the next goal,
Yeah,
but
that's
take a
my
minute to be like, okay, cool, I'm here. I got to where I wanted to get. It's not as dope as I thought, but it's dope that I got here. Let's go on to the next thing. It's or else you're just chasing nothing.
right. Yeah, no, my motto that I don't even know if you want to call it a motto, but something I live by is just never get complacent because it's just I mean, it's hard to be that, but also try and live in the moment because the minute you're complacent, you stop advancing, and that's not
Right.
what anyone wants in life. But you also have to enjoy life. You can't just work straight until you're 80 and then all of a sudden your life's over and you wasted it keeping yourself busy trying to make
Yeah.
yourself better.
Yeah. Yeah.
But speaking of this stuff, I mean, why don't you tell me about your job? I mean, I know you out of all of my friends, your job is 100% the coolest and most meaningful that I know about. So I want all the
Oh,
plug what you got to plug. Tell
I
me all the good
appreciate
things
it.
about it.
Well, thanks. No, yeah. So after being asked enough times, I think I've developed a little of a delivery of what my job is. So basically, I work for a nonprofit
Hmm.
that provides an after school center for first through eighth graders, where they come from 3:30 to 6, Monday through Thursday. And for half of the time that they're there, they are getting tutored and helped with homework, academics, any projects, anything that they need. And then we also have our own extracurricular or extra credit curriculum, where if they don't have anything going on at school that day, they can do some extra credit and get some bonus points, what we call chippies, that they can later cash in the prize box.
Hmm.
Um, and the other half of the time that they're there, they are being taught an instrument, either guitar, bass, drums, or piano. Um, so that's first through eighth grade. The other half is their teachers are high school kids, who we hire on what we categorize as a paid teen internship. So they come in Monday. They come in 2 to 3 days, Monday through Friday,
Hmm.
and they either specialize in an instrument or they tutor. Um, we also have a few kids starting, or they're pioneering a new program we have started this year with sound and audio engineering and videography.
Photography,
Um,
nice.
but they don't work with kids. But yeah, it's really cool. So by the time, if a teenager goes ninth through 12th grade working with us, they can say on their resume, on their college applications, that I've completed a 4-year paid internship. Like most adults
Yep.
can't say they've even had an
I
internship.
I know you're putting them ahead of the game. I mean,
Right.
you're something about idle kids. Some can get themselves in trouble. So just
Right.
having some sort of structure and something that I'm sure a lot of them look forward to every day. I mean,
Oh
that's
yeah.
got to be
Oh
something
yeah.
awesome. So making
Yeah.
making some change. And I personally got to see you perform at the African American Music Festival of Grand Rapids. Right? Am I saying the
Yep.
name wrong? Okay, that
Yeah.
was
Part of Art Prize.
that was really cool. Is that something that you guys just do constantly, or is it just a couple times a year that it's your big end of year type of thing?
Right. So we do a few things all throughout the year. We have a worship team. So we actually do a lot of things outside of just New City. We are very community based and want to really get youth um, in that community, involved in their community, and be knowledgeable about their community, and then teach them how to help their community in their own time. And part of that is having a worship team. So we are a Christ centered organization, and our worship team consists of a few adult staff who give some direction, and then teenagers. And they play
Mhm.
the instruments, they sing, we teach them everything. And then we get asked by churches to go to their services, like 1 or 2 Sundays a month. We do things like Art Prize. We do our Christmas bash. It's a fundraising event, but we also kind of just display for all of our donors and all of our families what it is that their kids are learning with us. So we get to showcase all of that. But they do a lot of public events as well. So we have the worship team is awesome. I mean, they really work hard, and it's awesome to see. It's awesome to see them benefit their or reap their benefits. Wow.
Reap the benefits
Um,
for all the work that they're putting in here, and
yeah,
they kind of get to see that they really are advancing themselves, as opposed to just the idea of it possibly helping them later on. It's more
right.
like here's some direct results, and then you also get that stuff as a bonus later on.
Yeah, yeah. And then to wrap the what is my job question up is where do I fit in that and all of that? Um, I'm what's called the job coach. So I work directly with the teenagers on a day-to-day basis. We have about 57 teenagers that that we're employing this year, and I'm kind of their main point of contact. I'm their direct supervisor, um, and I provide them ongoing coaching on how to become a better teacher for their kids throughout the year, trainings for that. But I also do a lot of I'm mainly in charge of teaching them and doing a lot of the stuff that they don't do in school that they're going to need in life, such
Which
as we
is
teach them like
appreciated.
professionalism,
Right.
communication, how to market yourself. We sit there and fill out the FAFSA with them. We go through the whole college process with them well before their applications even due. Um, we actually have Thursday nights. Our seniors are required to stay. Seniors that are pursuing college after high school are required to stay Thursday nights for an extra hour, just so we can go through and be like, all right, where are you in the college process? Like, how can we get you further? Um, we do if they don't want to do college, we teach them all about trade school, all about military, all about owning your own business.
It's good to have those
How to
options too, because
Mhm.
that's the thing that like a lot. It's kind of a problem with high schools and just the education system in general. It's like they're trying to push you to get their college numbers up, but really, like
Yep.
life is crazy, man. There's so many different
Oh,
ways it
dude.
can take you.
I've said for a long time now, like I wouldn't go back and change anything because I'm enjoying where I am now, and everything that happened in my past needed to happen for me to be here. But if I did have to go back and change anything, I would have gone to trade school. But that wasn't something that was talked about at my high school. It was
Yeah,
like
me either.
college was shoved down your throat, and it was like, all right, that's my only option. Like, all right, cool. I'm glad I went. I mean, I went to a university I fell in love with, and I still like think about it every day.
You and I are of similar opinions on that. I have the exact same things. Like I'm not even using
Yeah,
my degree right now, but and it's not
right,
even. It was just the drive to get the degree. I don't know, man. It was just
right.
the feeling of bettering yourself, and then getting all these great memories from college. It's
Oh, for
I would
sure.
never deter anyone from going to college, but
Oh,
I
no, by
also
any
it
means.
needs to be known that there are other options out there. So.
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure.
Well, that about wraps up everything I got for you, Gator. Did you have any last minute plugs here you wanted to throw in? Anything fun?
No, not particularly, other than just, I haven't listened to all of your podcasts yet, but I've gotten through quite a few of them. Um, and just keep up the great work. I think that you're doing what you like, and I admire that. And I think that's a good message for anyone watching or listening to your show. Is just, you're doing what you like, and it's dope.
Hey, thanks, brother. I really appreciate it. And yeah, it's been a great time. I love doing these podcasts. It's a little bit of extra work. I'm not getting paid anything to do them, but it's just a fun little hobby, and I'm glad I'm doing it. Speaking of hobbies, if you guys haven't listened in, I do the Marvel Stuff podcast with my cousin Cody. Great guy. We've been growing every single week on that podcast. And then one more, I got to plug my brother Darius Walker's podcast. Don't
Hey,
argue with idiots. He has been plugging this podcast like a madman, and I got to return the favor. Love that guy to death. He's
yeah,
on episode number 1 of this podcast. Wonderful
let's
person.
go,
Go check that out.
man. You shouldn't let that guy be your best man.
Dude, too late. I already did. It was money.
Got
All
him.
right, that wraps it up. And thank you to the audience for listening. Go ahead and rate 5 stars if you want to. Tell me what you want to see in this podcast, and have a good one.